Hello, everyone. You are listening to the C Squared podcast with Corey, Curtis, and our guest host today, Mr. James Delbridge from Lycanthro. We have a super exciting guest for you today. Mr. dUg Pinnick, the legend himself, has joined us, and we are super excited to have him here to answer all of our questions and honestly to put up with our shenanigans and my stuttering. So first, I do just want to say thank you for joining us today, for braving the show. We do appreciate it.
You're welcome. No problem. Hello.
So dUg, first thing first, can you do a little nutshell version of who you are, what you do? Like I know you've been doing it for a while, but the nutshell version.
I'm a bass player, singer, and I play in a band called King's X. We've been around for almost 40 years. We've got about 10 records out, counting them. I'm not sure anymore. We lose track. And I've got a lot of side projects that we'll probably talk about. And I'm just that guy that's been around a long time, and people love what I do. Not a lot, but the ones that do really do, and that's what counts. So
cool.
That's me, dUg Pinnick.
Awesome.
And I am sure there are a lot of people that love what you do. But we all know about the whole King's X thing, but why don't you talk a little bit about your new project that you've got going on, Grinder Blues? What are the origins of this, and how did it get started and get going?
Well, the brothers, J-Bo and Scott, they have a band, and they were doing, they were writing music for movies and stuff like that. And I had just moved to LA, and I ran into Scott at Ray Luzier's house. Ray Luzier plays with Corinne. He's the drummer, and he's a good friend. And we went over to his house to have a birthday party for his 1-year-old son at the time. And that's when I met Scott. And we were talking about why are we here and what are we doing? Just trying to get to know each other. And I told him I wanted to write some music with some people and try to play some songs in movies where you can make good money there, because this was like 10, 11 years ago when the music industry was pretty rough. And so everybody was trying to find outside gigs. And so he said his brother and him were doing that. And they had a song on Sons of Anarchy. And a couple other things was happening. So I went, wow, cool. So we got together to start to write some songs. And as we started talking, they were telling me that they used to play with Sun Seals and Ray Charles and BB King. They've done a lot of backup for those guys and a lot of other blues artists, which made me realize that these guys, these white boys can really play. And so they had a real what was it? They were very knowledgeable in the blues and could make music. It was just amazing. And so I grew up in Chicago in the 50s, where the blues thing was happening. Muddy Waters and BB King and all those people had moved to Chicago, and they started making music in the 50s. Well, I was a child then, and I remember that music, and I remember my relatives bringing those records home, and me, a little kid out in the front yard playing, listening to these things. So there was this connection there, and I said, well, let's just put a band together and write some really just simple blues songs that are really a lot of fun. I mean, basic blues, nothing progressive, just way down into the depths of it. And we were just talking about what we liked, and ZZ Top, Trace Hombre's album was a really big deal for me because it just took blues and turned it on 12 in a way that was still authentic. And I thought, let's just go the ZZ Top route and just do some really simple boogie stuff, no real deep lyrics, and just have fun. Now, Scott knows all the blues drum beats. I mean, there's like 10 or 12 different shuffles and all kinds of different names for them. So we just say, hey, Scott, come give us an authentic shuffle or something. And he'll start playing, and J-Bo and I would just come up with some music. And it was real simple. We just threw it all together and started writing these songs, and lyrically too. It was a lot of fun. And so that was the first record. The second record, we done the same, actually.
Very cool. James, do you want to do your question next?
Yeah, I guess so. So, first of all, Doug, just wanted to say I'm a very big fan of your work. I'm a vocalist too, and
Awesome.
this question is kind of more on the. I want to kind of get your perspective on the whole vocal side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, my question to you is obviously, even from back when you had you have a very unique vocal style that wasn't really common for the genre you were playing at the time back in the day with King's X and all that. And because obviously your vocals, like with the stuff you're doing with Grinder Blues, is very much inspired by obviously funk, soul music, blues, all that stuff. So my question to you is that early on, how did you develop your vocal style, and how do you think it would translate into the kind of heavier output, like the rock and the metal stuff and the heavy blues stuff that you ended up doing? Sorry. How did you develop your vocal style, and how did it translate to your musical output at the time?
Well, I tell you, you mean back when I was just starting out singing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Back in the day, I was exposed to all kinds of different music as a child because school taught me musicals and show tunes and stuff like that, and church showed me gospel, and my relatives were always playing blues at their house, and I had another relative who was playing jazz all the time in my life that I was aware of. But I think when I was around 16 or 17, Stevie Wonder and Aretha Franklin really did it for me. There was something about the way they sang. And then there was Mavis Staples from the Staple Singers, but these were all like really, they came from a gospel type background, even though it was Motown music. And that's when I started to kind of hone in on that aspect of singing. And I loved it. It seemed to have emotion in it. It seemed to make me feel good. And it seemed when other people did it, especially in church, you could see reactions when somebody hit that one note just right, and it was very fascinating to me, and it moved me. So rock and roll has always been a part of my life because rock and roll started in the 50s, and my cousins who were teenagers were playing Chuck Berry and Little Richard when I was 5 and 6 years old. So rock and roll has always been rock and roll to me. And singing wise, back in the day, that's the way those guys sang. So when I finally got old enough to be in a band and start writing my own music, it was the early 70s. And at that point, the 70s, we had Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Free, and all those guys were singing like that. And so I just naturally sang like that too. We were all just a bunch of people trying to sound like we were black singing in the church. That's what everybody sounded like in the 70s. Listen to Smoke on the Water. It sounds like me singing it, and because those guys, that's what I listened to. When rock and roll started getting heavier and heavier, the voices never changed. I think the vocals changed around New Wave era when the punk rock thing happened, where they just abandoned real kind of vocals and went another way. But I couldn't go that way. That wasn't me, and I didn't understand it. So I just had to stick to my guns and sing the way I naturally sung. And with King's X, I felt like, with King's X, it's sort of like it's a combination of both. I try to put soul with it, but I'm still a choir boy at heart. And I love it, just straight up glee club choruses and harmonies and stuff. Literally, I was in the madrigals and in the choir in college and in high school. So I've always just been around vocals. So for me, it's just a combination of all my influences in one, and I don't know any other way to do it. I mean, I could turn one on and turn the other off, and I try to do that with King's X sometimes. But at the end of the day, if my heart's not there, if I'm not giving you my soul, I don't feel like I'm doing a good job. So, it's a combination of all of that, I would say. With Grinder Blues, it's straight up gospel blues. There's no need to go anywhere else outside of that box, because Grinder Blues is a lot of fun, and it's something that I do natural. It's not something like the other band In the other groups, I really work at harmonies and melodies and the accuracy of things and how they blend and how they work in and out of the vocal parts and the key changes and the crazy stuff that's going on. With grinded blues, it's just, I can just grab that mic and just open my mouth up and be me. And I love that. And that's the fun. That's one of the things about playing in this band live is you just walk out there and you know, you can play through anything and rock out. We did on our first album, we actually did a tour of Scandinavia and we did a whole bunch of bars and we didn't take anything with us but guitars, literally guitars and Scott brought sticks. That's it. And we said, whatever's there, we're gonna play. And it was a low budget tour, and we just wanted to go do it and have fun. And we played on some really good stuff, and we played on some shit that I literally blew up. But the whole time, it didn't matter what we were plugged into. It was, this thing was happening, and it was fun, and it was spontaneous, and the people went nuts. So, you know, that's the special thing about Grinder Blues. It's a real organic type band.
So I have a follow-up question kind of before James.
Amazing, man.
Oh, sorry about that. I got way off track too. But anyway, okay, back.
So
all good, man.
DUg, I have a follow-up question just before James gets into his next one, which is, how did you guys come up with the name Grinder Blues anyways, just out of curiosity?
I think there was a song, the song Grinder Blues off the first record. If I'm not mistaken, I think that when I was coming up with lyrics for that, when I got to Grinder Blues, I thought, wow, that's cool. And we were thinking about what should we name the record? And we kept thinking a lot of different things. And I thought, Grinder Blues, that just sounds cool. I like the way it sounded. And so they liked it and we kept it.
Fair. Cool.
Yeah.
So James, it's your turn.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, awesome, man. And it's funny, my next question, you actually sort of kind of already half answered it in your tangent, which is totally cool, man. It's great because the question I was going to ask about the Grinder Blues project is that obviously, as I was saying, you're known for having your musical output is usually very emotional, very personal, very heavy as well.
Yeah.
But the thing that I wanted to ask is that was Grinder Blues sort of like a very therapeutic or cathartic kind of step for your career? Because as you mentioned, the music is a lot more laid back and fun. And is that something that you felt like you had to do to like kind of offset the usually very, you know, deep and personal stuff that you usually put out?
No, I don't think that deep about anything. It's just they were around and said, let's make the record and this sounds cool and wow, let's do it. That's the way I do everything. There's no thought behind it until we start to do it. And then we finally figure out what it is. And then we can define it. You know, all my side projects were like that. It was just a bunch of guys saying, hey, let's get together because we like the way each other plays and we trust that each other can handle their side of the deal without somebody else telling them what to do. And that's the fun of it, is to play with people who've been around a while that have written songs, who have been proven in their own field, so that when you get together, you don't have to, there's no alphas. Everybody is creating who they are because they know that the blend will work when a producer puts it together. And I think that's what happened with us. I can define a lot of it now, you know, like we decided to tune our guitars down 2 steps, which gave the blues like a really heavier feel. And we do love ZZ Top, Tres Hombres album. And that's one of my favorite albums in the world. And I was saying, maybe I said it before, but it just changed the way I saw blues, because it was so much heavier and darker, but they didn't lose the essence of the heart of the blues. And so I just felt like, man, let's just go there with Grinder Blues. And lyrically was the same thing, just simple things to sing about. Nothing new. My baby left me. She ain't coming back. That's about it, you know. And I look at it now and go, yeah, this is one of my favorite projects for sure. Yeah, they're like my children now. I love them all.
Interesting. So, Doug, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is your favorite King's X album of all time? Just out of curiosity, just your own personal.
I don't have one. And our newest one is now, because usually whatever we're putting out is my favorite at the moment. But our new album, after being together 40 years and having nothing to prove other than to try to raise the bar from everything that we've ever done, you know, that right now it's my favorite record. You haven't heard it yet, but you will. We just sent the masters to the record company, and it's our white album. It's the best thing we've ever done in our lives, and we put our heart and soul into it because this could be the last record. I'm 71 years old, and you know, you just never know. So, and our heart is in the art. It's not in selling records. We know that that's not going to happen. We make this certain music for a certain group of people who love what we do, and this is what we made that record for. It's I think it's everything that you loved about King's X. This record will give you, and this is what other people have been telling me, who are friends who love King's X and have followed me all my life. They say this is the best thing we've ever done. I hope other people feel that way. I don't know if I should not say anything like that or to jinx it, or maybe I should say it and then maybe people will believe it. Who knows? But the power of persuasion. But yeah, but other than that, you know, I mean, I can still say, I would probably say Dog Man is probably my favorite, only because of how heavy it was. It really sounded like we did live, and we had just left Sam Taylor, and he had really done a job on us, and we were totally reactionary to everything that he did with us. We made a roundabout turn and shed everything that Sam put on us and became our raw band again, like who we really are. And then we built up from that. So I think that record had a lot to do with it. I think Jerry was going through a divorce. I was going through a breakup. Ty was just about ready to get a divorce. I don't know. There's a lot of things were going on. We were angry. I was angry at the church. I was starting to lose my faith and fall away. There was so much stuff going on in our lives at that moment that record just channeled it all. Even poor Brendan O'Brien, who produced the record, we would hardly let him do anything because we didn't trust anybody anymore. You know, everything he said, no. He said, if I put this on here, this will be a hit. No, you're not going to do it. You know, we had been controlled so much by the past that record was just us just being kids running like crazy, going, I don't care. This is what I want. Give it to me. You know. So anyway, yep. Long story short, half hour, right?
Cool. James, more follow-up questions for Doug?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny because like while you're, I noticed Curtis kind of laughed a bit because when you mentioned if you had to pick one, it was Dog Man. I just flashed this up on the screen when you said that. So, and it's interesting.
You got the yellow one.
I mean, there's more than one.
Yeah, there's 4 different colors. There's yellow, blue, red, and green.
Oh, so you didn't know that.
Yeah, when we put the record out, we couldn't decide what color we wanted the dog. And our sound man, who's Jay, said, well, why don't we all just pick one and see if the record company will put a record out that will do them all. So our manager said, yeah, let's try that. So we told Atlantic Records would they put it out on all 4 different colors? And they said, sure, because they saw marketing. They thought, well, fans will buy all 4 of them. And people did, actually. But yeah, that's how that happened.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And it's also interesting that you're saying about how like that record, a lot of your guys' inspiration for it was very like, because it was very kind of dark time for all you guys. It's because especially I even noticed in the title track, especially you can hear all the emotion and kind of the sort of like the pissed off kind of air to it, you know, like compared to your guys' old work, like like the lyrics and even so much as the riffs and all that, it's literally just like, this is literally good. This is a freaking angry song, but it's amazing too. So, you know, we really appreciate all of the amazing music that you've given us, especially on this record as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Curtis, I'm gonna do the thing that you usually do and put Corey on the spot because I know how much you love to do that. Corey, you got anything?
Oh, of course I do. They love to put me on the spot because usually my mind will just go blank, but I actually have a question.
Awesome.
A lot of our listeners they're younger bands, they're new to getting music, their careers are just getting started. So having the impressive career that you do, what is the one piece of advice that you would give new and younger bands who are just getting going? Coming at you with the real questions.
That's one that I could talk 2 hours on those kind of things, because the importance of a band, how you play together and how you care for one another. Example, King's X has been together over 40 years and we hate each other as much as we love each other. We're like brothers. Mm-hmm. It's very important. It's very important to encourage each other, not to intimidate each other and force someone to be who they're not. You know, the best bands are bands who have musicians that are just great in their own right and they're really good at what they do, and then the magic happens because everybody has something to contribute. It's not one person's band. It's not my drummer. It's not my guitar player. It's the band I'm in. It's our drummer. You know, you don't own anybody. Example, KXM, I trust those two guys so much that when we go into make a record or write music, no one tells anybody what to do ever, no matter what. And when we're done with the songs and the record, we look back and go, oh my God, because we're so in love with what everybody else did that we can love the song, that we could love the painting, you know. It's just get yourself out of it and see how you fit and what makes the band, because like Led Zeppelin, without one there would be not the other, you know. I mean, everybody is important. Everybody is important. Even though you might not get the recognition, maybe the bass player nobody gives a fuck about. but without that bass and what you lay down, that band wouldn't be what it is. Always know your worth. And you know, I don't know, I could go on and on. I would love to do a question and answer about just that, because I could go on and on about it, because we've been together. Right now we are, I am told, one of the oldest bands that have been together 3-piece. In fact, I think we are the only 3-piece band that's been together this long, according to our manager, which told me last week, since ZZ Top. And I used to talk to Billy about trying to do a concert of old bands together, you know, because they're like 10 years, they got 10 years on us, or almost 20. Yeah. And so, I mean, gosh, but anyway, yeah. My point is also that it's an adventure, guys. That first song you wrote, don't think that's the greatest song in the world. You got 100,000 songs to write before you write that great song. Yeah. It's the adventure. It's the little places that you play until you get to the big places. And then you get back to the little places. Are you still doing the same thing that you're doing? Are you still doing the same thing to the people that you did in the little places and the big places, you know? It's an adventure and it's a journey, and you never know what's going to happen. And there's no guarantees that anything will happen. But if you do what you love to do, you know, that's the best you can offer in your life, is what you get to do, what you wanted to do all your life. I've starved, I've slept in the back of a car, and I've played for lots and lots of people, and less and up and down, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. You know, get out there and do your thing, and don't take no for an answer. That's a long answer.
That's a great answer, though. It's a perfect answer.
Awesome. So thanks, Doug. We're going to wrap up the interview now. So is there any final you want to say before we end off?
I could always say a lot of things, but thank you so much for doing this, you know, and I hope you love the record. Have you heard the record yet? I hope so. Grinder Blues.
Yep.
Good. And everybody buy it, or download it or send it to your friends or whatever. Like, I don't know these days how we do it, but do it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.